Welcome to the Explainer. Today, we're taking a look at a tool called ThinkReview. Now, this is an open source project that's doing more than just reviewing code. It's really sparking a fascinating debate about how AI should actually work with us, the developers.
All right, so here's our game plan. First, we're going to tackle the problem this thing is even trying to solve. Then, we'll get into its really unique approach, the big philosophical debate it kicks up, how it handles the whole trust issue, and of course, see how it works in the real world. Then we'll wrap it all up.
You know, for so many of us developers, code review, it's not always this smooth, collaborative thing. More often than not, it's a huge pain point, right? You're constantly switching contexts, you're getting bombarded with notifications. It's just exhausting.
Yeah, I saw a developer on Reddit just nailed this feeling. They talked about that endless cycle. You copy some code, you switch tabs to your AI tool, you wait for it to do its thing, then you switch back, and by then your focus is just completely shattered. That exact frustration, that's what this new wave of AI tools is trying to fix.
So what if the answer wasn't, another complex tool you have to integrate into your CI/CD pipeline, something that needs admin approval and all that headache? What if it was just a simple, lightweight tool that lives right where you're already working, in your browser?
And that right there is the core idea behind ThinkReview. I think its biggest selling point is just how ridiculously simple it is. You don't have to mess with CI configurations, you don't have to go ask for admin rights, you just install a browser extension and boom, it works.
The whole point is to give you instant feedback. We're talking summaries of what's changed, security vulnerability checks, suggestions on best practices. You can even chat with the pull request to understand it better. And the best part, you never have to leave that page.
Okay, but this is where it gets really, really interesting. See, ThinkReview isn't just another tool with a list of features. It's built on a very specific philosophy. And that's what makes it so different from a lot of the other AI review tools out there.
So the standard way of thinking, and a lot of developers feel this way, is that any comments from an AI reviewer should be public, right there, on the pull request. That way, they become part of the permanent record. It creates a traceable history of decisions, and the whole team can see it and learn from it.
But the creator of ThinkReview is coming at this from a totally different angle. They're arguing for a private space. The idea was to create a personal copilot, something that helps you analyze and polish your own review before you post that final well-thought-out comment for the rest of the team.
So, this sets up a really clear philosophical divide, doesn't it? On one hand, you have the AI as a public auditor. It's out in the open, enforcing team standards, leaving a clear paper trail. On the other hand, you have the AI as a private co-pilot. It's just for you, helping you get your thoughts straight without cluttering up the main conversation.
Now, this whole idea of a private copilot, well, it leads us straight to the biggest, most important question you can ask about any tool that touches your code. Can you trust it?
I mean, think about it. For any tool that's going to be reading your source code, especially if it's proprietary, sensitive stuff, trust isn't just a nice-to-have feature, it is an absolute non-negotiable requirement. So, ThinkReview tries to tackle this head-on with 3 core pillars.
First up, and this one is absolutely crucial, is their zero-code retention policy. They're very clear about this. Your code is only ever processed in memory just for the few seconds it takes to generate the review. After that, poof, it's gone. It is never, ever stored on their servers.
Pillar number 2 is transparency, because the front end, the browser extension itself, is completely open source. This is huge because it means anyone, you, me, anyone, can go look at the code and verify that it's doing exactly what they say it's doing, especially with how it handles your code.
And the third pillar, which is kind of the ultimate solution for privacy, is the option to run it all locally. It has full support for Ollama, which means you can run the AI reviews entirely on your own machine. Your code literally never leaves your network. Can't get much more secure than that.
So, these 3 pillars are all part of their bigger commitment to ethical AI. They make a few key promises. You are always the one to trigger a review. Nothing happens automatically. Your code is never used to train their models. The AI is just a suggestion tool. A human is always in charge. And it only ever looks at the code diff, not your entire repository.
Okay, so we've covered the philosophy, we've covered the trust and security side, but how does this thing actually work in practice? Especially when you throw a really big, messy pull request at it, the kind that can really choke up an AI model.
Well, instead of just dumping a giant wall of code on an LLM and, crossing its fingers, it uses a much smarter process. First, you get to pick the best model for the size of the job.
Then it automatically filters out all the junk. We're talking lock files, node modules, minified code. And finally, it uses some clever caching to get the most out of the model's context window and make things faster.
And what's great is that this isn't just locked into one platform. It gives you pretty broad support across the board. It works with GitLab, GitHub, Azure DevOps, and Bitbucket. And really importantly, that includes self-hosted versions of these platforms, which, as you know, is a make-or-break feature for a lot of companies.
Okay, so let's zoom out a bit. With all of that said, what's the big takeaway here? Where does a tool like this fit into the super fast-moving world of AI developer tools?
Well, for one thing, it's getting perfect 5-star ratings from its early users on places like the Chrome Web Store. So pretty clearly, this whole private Copilot idea is really hitting home for developers. It seems like a lot of people are looking for exactly this kind of AI assistant.
At the end of the day, this whole thing isn't really just about ThinkReview. It's about a much bigger question for all of us in software development. As AI gets more and more woven into everything we do, we have to decide what role we want it to play. Do you want a public auditor that keeps everyone in line and enforces team standards? Or do you want a private copilot that helps boost our own individual work? The answer to that question, well, that's probably going to shape the entire next generation of tools we use every day.